Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special live session in which I, your host Behram Qazi, will be breaking down the Lord's Test, which was recently concluded between England and Australia, and the Ashes 2023 at large, with my esteemed guest, former Yorkshire captain, England under 19 captain, who also bowled off spin and was no mug with the bat either, Mr. Azeem Rafiq. So, first of all, Azeem Bhai, welcome to Grassroots Cricket. This is your debut, of course. It's an absolute pleasure to have you over here, and I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so there's lots to unpack over here, of course. I think the number of talking points that we have from this test alone at Lords, it's just so much that my notes over here are literally like overflowing. But I guess no better place to start than the Bairstow dismissal. Of course, he was stumped off a pacer, which is, well, not something you see every day. And there's been a lot of debate, a lot of uproar that the spirit of cricket wasn't upheld. Now, I have my views on it, but I want to hear yours. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, look, as it happened, I think for me it summed up England over the last two Test matches. I thought it was dozy, it was slack from Johnny, and this whole spirit of cricket. You know, Australia did nothing wrong. I played a lot of cricket with Johnny, and I've seen him doing it at every level. And I think there's been enough video clips since on social media. So look, I don't think Australia was out of order at all. And actually, I think it was, it showed exactly where England have been at. Is in them key passages of play, they've been slack, and their mindset's not been there.
Fair enough. And we've seen like some interesting comments come from the English camp after whatever transpired at Lords. Brent McCullum has said that he won't be having a beer with the Australian team anytime soon, and also that Australia will live to regret the Bairstow decision. And Ben Stokes said that he would have withdrawn his appeal. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to be honest, I think all three comment statements are pretty laughable. Really, I think Brendan, whatever he was trying to get across, I think it came across quite petulantly, and I think it set a narrative and a language which has fueled a lot of the press for the last few days. I think it's been, I feel.
Yeah, I think we've lost you, Azim Bhai. Maybe the internet's, acting up. Can someone in the comments let me know if they can hear Azim Rafiq? Okay, let me quickly just check if everything is all right. All right, and if anyone does have any questions, of course, feel free to ask them in the comments. I have them open, so I'll try to address them as much as I can. Of course, we do have a lot of talking points, so apologies if I don't get to all the questions. And I just messaged Azim Bhai, and let's see if we can get him back on soon enough. Okay, so yeah, Mustafa says can't hear. Praveen says nope. Let me just sort this out quickly. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so Azimba, if you can hear me, try joining back in. Let's see if that works. And then we can get on with the show. Apologies for the technical difficulties, guys. And yeah, I think we have some questions in as well. So I'll try my best to take those in as well. Of course, there's lots to talk about. We've only just started this discussion. And here we are. I think Azim Bhai is back. Hello?
Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can. You want to complete your thought with respect to what Brendan and Stokes have said?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, Brendan McCullum's comments were out of order, and in the heat of the moment, it it's fueled a lot of what's followed. And I think, I've commented a couple of times on Twitter around it,
Hmm.
and some of the feelings and the strongness of what people are going to do at Headingley has been quite scary. And I think, I'm a little bit uneasy as to what, up until sort of Joe Root's press conference, it felt like England were trying to use this to hide away from their feelings, which England could quite possibly have been 2-0 up going into
Hmm.
Headingley if it wasn't for silly mistakes, no balls, dropping catches, which have all been big decisions in selection leading up to the series.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up the missed chances because there's been so much controversy, whether it be the Stark catch, the Bairstow dismissal, that we often forget that. I think Andy Zaltzman from the BBC pointed this out, that in terms of missed opportunities, England have 14, whereas Australia have 7. And that really is a big defining factor, don't you think?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, look, coming into the Test series, every big call that England had to make around selection, I felt like they got it wrong. I felt
Hmm.
they were too much. It was last year, England were attacking but very smart with their selections and the way they back their players. I felt like Ben Foakes should have been in the team. And Johnny's wicket keeping has shown that he's not quite there. And again, with a spinner spot, I felt as soon as Jack Leach got injured, they should have gone to Liam Dawson. And
Hmm.
I felt like a lot of the selections have been a bit fairy tale, and England trying to plug holes. And ultimately, it's Test cricket. What's happened before doesn't matter because it's the Ashes, and it's under pressure. England have faltered.
Absolutely. It's interesting you bring up those selection calls. Now, I saw your tweets with respect to bringing Liam Dawson, and I wasn't even like sure about how good he's been in the county championship, but he's had quite decent numbers and he can bat a bit. So, bringing Moeen back, who hasn't played red ball cricket in like 2 years, do you think that was like a sane call? Do you think it might still pay off? And then, just a little tongue in cheek, of course, there are a lot of people who say that Ben Fokes should be keeping ahead of Johnny Bairstow, but could Ben Fokes have carried that protester off the field?
Yeah, I mean, look, from Moen's point of view, my view has been very clear. Like, it's not just the fact that around the finger and the fitness issues around playing long form of cricket. I don't feel like Moen's bowled well in any cricket for a while now, and I felt like it was a massive fairy tale selection. He's very popular on social media, in the media. So I just felt like we were trying to judge the Moen of quite a few years ago. And look, Moeen bowls good balls, and he's always going to bowl wicket-taking balls, and plays cricket in a manner where there's going to be moments of absolute brilliance. I just didn't feel like this was. I just felt like this was a risk too far. Whereas Liam would have provided, light for light, left armour. You might not have got the extravagance that you had with Moeen, but you would have got a lot of grit and consistency, and someone who's been playing long format cricket. So that was my view. That's why I felt like that should have been the spinner spot. In terms of keeping, Ben, I'm just gutted for Ben Foakes more than anything else because we talk about Ben. Ben Foakes was called the best wicketkeeper in the world last year by Ben Stokes. I don't think you can go from that and then not be in the team. And people actually forget that Ben Foakes has a really good batting record in first class cricket,
Hmm.
and he's done really well in Test cricket in tough situations. I just feel like extremes of any sorts, whether they're too defensive or too attacking, and one way of playing cricket can be quite damaging. And I just feel like England have been shown up from that point of view in these last two Test matches.
Very interesting. And of course, the selection calls, and then there's more controversy. There's been lots of chatter from England, especially after that first test. You saw Ollie Robinson write a piece for Wisden, and then Jimmy Anderson wrote one, I believe, for the Telegraph. I might be wrong over here. And then Zach Crawley said that England are most probably going to win by 150 runs at Lords. So is this just like comes across as somewhat as weird to you? Because I mean, their defense of baseball and their imposition that this is the only way to play test cricket and other teams will have to adapt around it. Like, I am in favor of the philosophy of baseball of attacking. I like the funky field settings. I like how they don't let bowlers get into rhythm and are also standing outside their crease to disturb their lines. There's a lot of good that's coming out of baseball. It is something that we have seen work. Of course, still they've won 11 out of 15 tests, if I'm not wrong. But all of this chatter around the English camp and the players themselves coming and writing pieces. What's your take on all of that?
I'm baffled. From the offset, even pre-series, I honestly do not understand where this has come from. It can only have come from Brendan McCullum and this whole culture environment. Look, I think England needs to be very careful. When you lose boundaries of what's acceptable, you can very easily, go down a road which ends very badly. And I just feel like I don't understand what they've tried to gain out of it. I think Ollie Robinson just been, I think it was just listening to every time, the Quadra send off, the column between the first and the second test, Brendan said that it felt like a win. I made a comment. I feel like you've got a bunch of kids in a room which have been given too many sweets, and you need an adult to rein it in. I just don't understand what's been trying to avail out of it. And even now, the tone of the Wisden article today was a little bit less, but even there was a couple of comments, and I'm thinking you're 2-0 down in an Ashes series. No one's going to remember anything but the scoreline. I'm not having this whole thing about saving Test cricket. In England, Test cricket matches are sold out. So this whole thing of we are saving Test cricket, with all due respect to all of them, from me, I'm just looking at that and thinking someone needs to rein these guys back in and get back into reality.
Also, I just feel like, all of the stuff that they've said, especially in the aftermath of the first test at Edgbaston, I feel like journalists would have talked about this anyway, that England, are doing a service to Test cricket and entertainment first is the way to go. Look how entertained we were throughout the 5 days. People would have said these things. So them tooting their own horn comes across as very, very strange to me. And just with the whole spirit of cricket debate as well, it feels like they only bring it up when it's convenient for them. Like if you go back to 2005, when Inzi was batting and Steve Harmison threw the ball back at Inzi and he tried to, defend himself and just went out of the way and got run out. So do you think there's a bit of double standard when it comes to the spirit of cricket and just the reaction from the Lords members, right? That was quite harrowing as well. You don't expect that from, a supposedly gentlemanly place, right? As they say, even though, a lot of people would have reservations about that. So your take on that?
Yeah.
Azeem bhai, I think you'll have to join back. I think that same thing has happened. Sorry. Yep. Our apologies, guys. Just some technical difficulties at Azeem Rafiq's end. Hopefully, it'll all be sorted and we won't experience this again. All right, let me just take a look at the questions as well. Oh, no, some nice ones. I'll ask those. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think this spirit of cricket, after what I've experienced over the last 3 years and the big report that came out earlier in the week, I think it'd be better if we didn't talk about this supposed spirit of cricket. Australia followed the rules. I just don't understand the hypocrisy of it. There are so many incidents. Stuart Broad smashing it to first slip comes up. Stuart Broad again. Being very vocal on this and stuff. I think when there was a test match where he threw a ball at Zulkarnain Heather and broke his arm. If I'm not wrong, there's been so many incidences of this over the years. I just think it's this supposed spirit of cricket. I don't think England were ever going to hand the runs in the 2019 World Cup final back, were they? So it's been interesting to watch and see how people have gone at the Australians. I don't think they did anything wrong. And like I said, I've been on a cricket field where a few of the lads who are playing in that test side have, and have tried to run people out like that and have been part of it when we have.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear Stuart Broad, out of all people, make these claims, and then his antics whilst he was batting. He would move back and have a few words with Alex Carey and tell him that that's what he'll be remembered for. I think that's a bit over the top, and also, like, can people just not stump batters off for fast bowlers? Like, this sounds a bit ridiculous. But just to cap off the controversial bit, and then we'll go to the cricket, the start catch. Now, when I first saw it, even before it went to the third umpire, I felt like that was not out because he had completely grasped it with the turf, and it seemed like he was using the ball to steady himself. I just want to know what you felt about that catch.
Yeah, I think, look, to the letter of the law, it's not out. But again, this we've seen this. For me, he was in control of his body. And once you start asking people to turn, like Starkey, Mitchell Stark in that position, if he turns and tries to sort of go the other way, you're starting to put his shoulder and body at risk. And I've seen people catch like that. Again, it's the I think that's somewhere where the letter of the law needs to be looked at. For me, again, I thought it was out. And I've seen that being given out so many times. But fair enough. I completely in this part I understand the third umpires. To the letter of the law, it's not a catch. But again, that's one of the things that probably will be looked at and changed from that incident.
Very well. Now let's get to some of the performances, and the best place to start would be Ben Stokes. 155 absolute Herculean effort in the fourth innings, nearly took England home, and definitely at one point it seemed like he would. And he just has this penchant to bring out his best whenever England are down in the dumps, right? The chips are down. Ben Stokes is going to perform. That's almost like a certainty at this point. You have so much precedent. You have Headingley 2019. You've got the Cricket World Cup 2019 final, the T20 World Cup final not too long ago versus Pakistan, and now this innings at Lords. What do you have to say about Stokes? Because he's just one of those cricketers who literally captures your imagination and is pretty much the definition of the word clutch, I would say.
Look, Ben's very special. I don't think there's there's any words that can do Ben's ability justice. If you've been lucky enough to watch Ben live at from close up, everything he does on a cricket field. And I know he's a bit at the minute, he's carrying the injury and physically he's not 100% there. But if you've been fortunate enough to watch Ben Stokes on a cricket field do anything, it's pretty special stuff. And that ability, Headingley 19 and then World Cup final, T20 World Cup, there was a lot of question marks. I got a lot of stick on social media for saying that, there's no way an England team should be without Ben Stokes, because under pressure, there are two world-class players in this team. There's Ben Stokes. As batting, there's two world-class batters in this team with Ben Stokes and Joe Root. For me, under pressure, you need your best players. And, I don't think anything can do it justice. And when he clicks that switch and it starts hitting the sixes, his striking ability and to take the fielders completely out of it, it's incredible. He finds the gap and he goes over them. There was a period of time on that final day that, reminiscent of Headingley 19, Australia looked like that they were lost. Hazelwood was bowling slot balls to his leg stump. And Ricky Ponting was talking on commentary that they need to go wide. And Pat Cummins, who I think is an absolutely outstanding leader, slowed the game down. They went a bit wider, and they got their grip back in the game. And once they got him out, they won the game. But whenever he's at the crease, England's got a chance. But also, he showed that you can give yourself time. He showed there's a different way to bat, and smart cricket is attacking cricket. Winning cricket is attacking cricket. A lot of people have been mesmerised by what England have done over the last 18 months. I can guarantee you, if they hadn't resulted in wins, people wouldn't have been as mesmerised by it. Ultimately, winning cricket is what people want to see. I'm just frustrated and gutted that in them key passages over the first two test matches, they haven't been a bit more Sparta, because they could have easily been 2-0 up.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up all of that stuff. Of course, Ben Stokes, like we've mentioned, is a very, very important pressure player, not just for England but in world cricket. And that's not something you associate with England much, is it? England generally have had a tendency historically to choke, but Stokes is that antidote. And it's refreshing probably from an England perspective.
Look, I think that's a bit harsh in terms of England choking. England over the years, have found it difficult.
Oh, I think we've lost you again. If you could just rejoin. Yep. Sorry once again, guys. Hopefully, we won't have too much of this. And Azeem Bhai should be back sooner rather than later. I think any minute now. And yeah, I'll definitely be taking some questions as well now. So, yes, you were saying.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh. If I'm being honest,
Hmm.
I think England struggled in world tournaments in the past.
Yep. Yep. Azim bhai, I think your video is stuck again. I'm so sorry. It's a bit annoying, but these are the perils of technology, I suppose. And we should be back soon, any minute now. Yeah, if this wasn't a live show, I would have edited all of this stuff out. So, but we're having a bit of a time crunch, so thought we might as well go live because well, tomorrow is the Headingley test, and if we started editing this, it would have taken longer to publish. And yeah, therefore we chose to go live, and hopefully the internet is better in Dubai now, where Azim Bhai is currently. And yeah, once he's back, we'll take some of these questions. I see a bunch of you have asked a lot of stuff. So we'll get to that. Yeah, there we go.
How's that?
Much better.
Right. Yeah, I think I don't know how much of you caught, but I think it's a bit harsh. I
Hmm.
think England, you look double two World Cup wins in the last few years. I think the last 18 months as well. To win in Pakistan, although I felt like Pakistan was poor. To win in Pakistan, to win against South Africa, New Zealand. So I think choking would be a bit harsh, but I think Ben Stokes is once in a generation cricketer.
Hmm.
To bat, bowl, field the way he does is, as I said, I've been lucky enough to have seen it at close, close up, and it's just an incredible, it's an incredible sight. So, and I think it's one of them. Now seeing him physically, possibly coming to the end of his career in the long format, I hope we can celebrate him because he's been a real, amazing international cricketer.
Yeah, he's an absolute joy to watch. And also just the fact that we've mentioned how England have just gone all out attack with the whole baseball philosophy. But Ben Stokes actually played very, very smart. He defended when he had to, he maneuvered singles and rotated strike when he had to. And then he went into full T20 beast mode when he had to. So he had all those gears to his game. And I guess that is just a reflection on how England maybe should have, what their approach should have been like overall, because we've seen them, lose a lot of wickets quite casually. And when we saw that short ball barrage from Australia, which was quite new, I want to talk to you about that as well. Athos has called it Bodyline 2023. A lot of people are calling it Wagner ball because that is something that Neil Wagner does very frequently, the short ball tactic. And the way England just, after being 188 for the loss of one wicket, they went after all of those short deliveries and they didn't play 80 overs. Now, Nathan Lyon is injured. You have to remember that, right? So tiring Australia's paces out should have been one of the things they should have been thinking about. That's what my cricketing brain tells me. Do you think that was a massive mistake? And even, going further in a 5 test match series, tiring out Australia's paces in this test was an opportunity to gain more of an advantage due to fatigue later on. So do you think that was an opportunity missed?
Look, I was watching the match live and I saw Nathan Lyon's calf ping, and I tweeted at the time like 40 minutes here because Australia tried everything. They were on the ropes. The maximum they would have gone on the bouncer barrage would have been 40 minutes without wicket. And the vice captain of the team to be, getting inside it, trying to hit it for six and bend duck it, and I was like, don't, and it just went. It's so frustrating because that could have not only killed the game in that test match, but as you say, it would have put Australia more legs into their seamers,
Hmm.
more overs into their seamers. And if they've got a young spinner that's going to come in at Headingley, I think it was a massive opportunity missed. But again, I think it's that lack of smartness in crucial passages of play. And look, on a two-pace pitch, bouncers are difficult to
Hmm.
to either attack or defend. They can be very difficult because when it's going at different heights, when you've got a true pitch, it's actually easier. But when it's a two-pace pitch, so I just felt like a bit more smartness, a bit more nous at that point. And that's the vice captain of the team, and I know he's
Hmm.
injured and out of the series, and I wish him all the well. But there's got to be someone's got to show some leadership and some smartness, and identifying that point would have been huge. But it just feels like going back to the point of how much England's talked. it just feels like they've talked themselves into a corner where they can't even defend three balls without thinking, what are the commentators going to say? What is everyone going to say? And this is where the frustration is. And, even now there's columns coming out, podcasts, lot of chatter from England. It's roles have reversed. And I think Australia have just gone, you know what? You crack on with your cricket and talk as much as you want. We're just going to play our cricket and back ourselves that, at the end of the series, we're going to be ahead.
All right. We'll take some questions at this point. Of course, there are lots of people in the comments, and I want to address, their questions as well. So we've got Praveen Kologuri, and I think this is a good one for you, Azim Bhai, because of your own experiences. Whatever was directed towards Khwaja in the MCC, well, not the dressing room, the long room. Do you think that it's actually a safe thing for visiting sides to be doing that, walking in the long room with that sort of atmosphere? Because we've never really seen Lords get that loud before.
I think we saw the worst of English cricket, didn't we? We had a report earlier in the week, talking about how institutionally racist, sexist, elitist, and class-based discrimination, and you had this, room, this sort of prestigious place where, they're actually very privileged to see overseas, international teams at such close proximity to themselves, and the behaviour and some of the videos coming out of that, I think, are disgusting. I seen the MCC ban three people. The videos I've seen, there's way more than three people who behaved in a manner that was, that's not what we want to see in our society. Never mind at our international venues. I think again, for Usman, I've been lucky enough to share a dressing room, and for him to have reacted, that would have, it's clearly something was said which was out of order, and I think NCC and English cricket needs to act and make sure that this is not a continuation, but this is what I mean about the language, and these things start with language from leaders, and they end up with actions in our societies and on our streets and in our crowds, and that's why I worry about what will happen at Headingley this week.
Absolutely. And another question over here. Ahmed Hussain Chishti says, Big up Behram and welcome to Azim. Thank you, Ahmed. I think his question is similar to what we were talking about before, only this is from a bowler's perspective. Of course, England aren't batting a lot of overs, and that means that there's a quick turnaround in between innings for the bowlers to get back to it. The wickets haven't been conducive to England's strengths at all. Jimmy Anderson has said that, if the pitches are like this, he might just be done. And we've seen that they've lacked an enforcer, right? Josh Tongue did a decent job in the previous game, but there are too many medium paces, and that might be an issue for England. So what's your take on all of this?
I think England got their tactics all wrong. They asked for flat pitches. They've got flat pitches. Not only have they negated or made it harder for the Australian bowlers, they have for their own. They've had samey bowling attack. I know Ollie Robinson always ends up with decent figures at the end of the innings, but, I don't know. I just feel like if you bowl 30 overs, you're going to end up in, with a few wickets. I just feel like they've had no bite. I think their spin bowling decision's been wrong. And pre-Ashes, my view was that England's batting will be fine, but getting 20 wickets will be a problem. And also this point, I don't think this point has been talked about enough. England keep talking about speeding the game up, or there would never have been a result if we hadn't played the way we have. And actually, you know what? That's the decision you've made because you think that's the best way of you winning the Test match. And actually, I don't know if Australia have done it on purpose or not, but Australia have gone the complete opposite. And this is having a big difference, because there's overs in the legs constantly. And then, England are batting whatever runs they're getting. They're not spending a lot of time out there. So again, they're speeding the game up and Australia slowing the game down. So actually what they're doing is letting Australia have longer to, to win games, to get 20 wickets.
Yeah, and Australia have been very, very pragmatic in their approach. Of course, you can take a look at how Usman Khwaja has batted. He's taken his time, and he has tired England's bowlers a lot. And he's someone who, a lot of people weren't expecting would perform as well as he did or has. And he scored a very, very valuable ton in the previous game, 77 crucial runs in this one. How do you view Usman Khwaja's story? It's really been terrific considering Australia dropped him, and ever since he's come back as opener, he just has not looked back. So, yeah, I mean, he's someone who you have, some. I wouldn't say like you of course, Khwaja and yourself both migrated to different countries, and there's that similarity. So how happy are you for Usman?
I mean, look, he's been the leading run scorer, if I'm not wrong, in international Test cricket for the last 12 months. People should have expected this. Uh, in his second coming in international cricket, he's just been outstanding. He's found his method. I mean, I didn't agree with him being left out in the first place. I always felt like under Justin Langer that he was the easy option and always the fall guy. In between sort of Warner and Smith being the sort of mainstay of the team, Khwaja was not given as much credit as he deserved. But he's shown exactly how good he is. It's actually brilliant to watch him come back and perform the way he has. In the manner he has. It's brilliant. It's been great for Australia, and for him and his family, and for Australian cricket. Long may it continue. But I hope not for the next 3 Test matches.
Yeah, another guy who has found form is Stephen Smith. Of course, he got a ton versus India in the World Test Championship final, and now he's got 110 at Lords. Of course, he's got a double 100 at Lords too previously, so not the first time he's got on the honours board. And he really, a lot of people say he's the best since Bradman. Of course, he has the average to back that up, and he is really that glue that holds this Australian batting lineup together. And he also has just different phases to his game. If you look at his 100, first 25 runs came off 20 deliveries. His 50 came off 100 and something. So Steve Smith plays according to the situation. And would you say that he is the best since Bradman?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, he's done it everywhere. He's got a method that people, it's not great to the eye, but he just scores runs, and he scores runs under pressure. Ashes is, apart from India, Pakistan, Ashes is, the most important, one of the biggest events in cricket, right? And his Ashes record, and I remember when he first, I think it was around 2009 Ashes when he played in Australia, the one that England won, and he struggled, and everyone talks about his technique and all of this, and it just shows the mental strength, the method, and we know how much he loves the game, and he just finds a way. Look, cricket is so unique that there is no one way of getting to success, and I think the most unique thing about it is watching people do it in one way and having the strength to be able to do that. I think he's been one of the greats of the game. And again, I think once he does finish, it'll be a big hole for Australia to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got some amazing support, of course, in Usman Khwaja. Even Warner got runs in the previous test. Travis Head has been very, very impressive on this English tour. And Alex Carey has, he's contributed with handy runs. And he's been absolutely brilliant behind the stumps. His keeping has been elite. So Australia as a unit, they've been pragmatic. Pat Cummins, his captaincy has come across as defensive, but it's gotten the results. And the field settings are really interesting. For Stokes, they had all the fielders riding the boundary. And then we've seen lots and lots of fielders, just riding the boundary, really. And it's worked. So what's your take on Pat Cummins' captaincy?
Yeah, look, I think since he took the captaincy, he's been incredible. To be leading off the field, he's big on climate change and real life issues, and speaks strongly on that. They had the whole coach situation. I think unfairly, a lot of the old Australian guard went at him, and he handled that with so much dignity. And but he stood up. He wasn't a shrinking violet. And even in this series, they've been strong in their sort of mindset. I guess their tactics going into that first game. Again, so much chatter about Australia blinking first, and I actually felt leading into the series. So everyone's tried to play England against England's this approach with the same normal, conventional way, and for me, it needed someone to, play with England's mind, and I feel like Australia's tactics have done that, and they've stuck to it, and they've gone, we trust ourselves that this is going to work, and that comes from the captaincy, because ultimately, if it went wrong, and if it was 2-0 right now, there'll be enough people in Australia calling for his head as well. So I think his captaincy on and off the field has been outstanding. The contributions, I feel like Warner's due a big one. I just see something in his eyes. I just feel like he's going to get a big one. So yeah, all set for Headingley. But the caveat is I actually feel like the team that England's picked this week. I feel like England's got a good chance this week.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to the team that England's picked and what we expect from Headingley. But just a bit more on Pat Cummins, of course, he's also found his rhythm. He hit top of off to dismiss Harry Brook, just like he does oh so frequently in Test cricket, and also bowled that corker of a Yorker to Ollie Pope in the previous game. But I'd say the delivery of the Ashes has to be that Mitchell Stark in swinger, prodigious in swinger that got rid of Ollie Pope. Do you even blame Ollie for not getting bat on ball?
Look, that's just a very good ball, and I think a lot of Pat Cummins' sort of career, and after all them injuries at the start, I think cricket boards and cricket administrators and people don't get enough. They don't get the credit when things go well, and I think the way they looked after him through that period is paying off big time now. And I follow Pakistan cricket, and you see how people get treated around injuries and stuff. It's so incompetent. Even I hope someone like Jofra can take a lot of, I guess, a lot of thing from Pat Cummins. He's having a lot of injuries, and the ECB can really make sure that they get behind Jofra to make sure, because again, we've got Pat Cummins is a once in a generation cricketer, and they need, if you need to invest a little bit more and sort of bide your time with them, you do that, and it's paying back in abundance for the Australian cricket team.
It absolutely is. And this is this new woke generation of Australians, not the one, very, very different from the one that was caught in those sandpaper allegations. But let's talk about Headingley now. Of course, it is your home ground, so no better person to talk about that surface, I suppose. It's looked like a green top. But we've seen green tops throughout the English summer, and then they've also gotten to be, or we've seen them to be very, very batting friendly as the game progresses. So, given Australia's attack, okay, we see Mitchell Stark has found rhythm. He's probably going to play. Pat Cummins is the skipper, but Nathan Lyon is injured. So now they're going to probably have to bring in Todd Murphy. How much of an impact do you think that is going to have on Australia? And also, Josh Hazelwood got a few wickets in the second innings, but wasn't at his most impressive at Lords. So do you see Australia bringing in Scott Boland for Hazelwood?
Well, I mean, the pitch Headingley, obviously seen it in a picture. I think that grass is to try and make sure it gets through the 5 days and just try and get a bit of bounce in it. Because Headingley, especially if it gets sunny, can go really flat. So I feel like that grass is a bit more to just to get a bit of carry. I've seen the weather forecast. It does seem like there's going to be a couple of days where it's going to be overcast. So I think conditions are going to matter when the teams are bowling. So I think that's going to play a big part this week at Headingley. In terms of selection, I think not having Nathan Lyon is huge. I know they didn't have him for most of the game at Lords, but this is different. Going into a game without Nathan Lyon is going to impact. He's world class. He can tie up an end. He can attack. He's just an absolute dream for anyone to have. So not having that for young Todd Murphy, I know he did well in India, but Headingley is not going to be easy. That crowd is going to be raucous. That crowd, especially with everything that's happened, that crowd's going to be pretty lively. And you know what? As long as no lines are crossed, I think that'll be for great viewing. In terms of, do they bring Scott Boland back in? It's a tricky one, right? Because you would think it would suit his style of bowling. To be honest, I felt Lords would suit his style of bowling because of the slope. But Mitchell Stark does add that, that left arm option and that pace and that swing. So if the pitches are being flat and the pitches go sort of really dead, that then 3 or 4 overs of left arm swing with that extra pace can be quite vital. So I would think that they might stick with the same seam attack, but then if Josh Hazelwood obviously coming back from injury, the change might be Hazelwood bowling in for Hazelwood just to keep, because I don't think Josh has played a lot of cricket on back-to-back matches for a while. So that might be the change there, and then Todd Murphy coming in for Lions. So that'll be the
Azim Bhai, we lost you right after you said Todd Murphy. So if you could just join back in. Until then, I can see if we have some more questions that we could take on. Um, yeah, let me just text you as well so that we can have this sorted quickly. Yeah, apologies once again, guys. We had a good run this time. It didn't get stuck for quite a while, so I think that's a win. And there is Azeem Bhai once again. Okay, yeah, Todd Murphy.
Yeah, I think look, it's going to be tough for him at Headingley, but it'll be interesting. I think England will go after him, which I think is the right way.
Mhm.
I think they should really go after him because that'll put Australia under, because it's not something they're used to. Nathan Lyons played 100 consecutive Test matches, so
Hmm.
they're not used to this. I actually feel like England have ended up with an 11 uh, through luck, which I think looks like a better team, gives them a better chance of getting 20 wickets. And I have, I'm fingers crossed. I have a good feeling that England are going to win at Headingley this week.
All right, and you've played a lot at Headingley, of course. Do you think reverse might come into play on the surface or in these conditions?
Um, just looking at the outfield, it looks pretty lush.
Hmm.
It doesn't look dry, so unlikely. But it's difficult to say because teams are very very good at getting the ball to reverse swing. Back
Hmm.
in the day when Pakistan did it, it was something else. But
Hmm.
teams have a plan and they're very good at getting the ball to reverse swing. I don't think we'll see too much of it. And just the grass on the pitch and the lushness of the outfield. I don't think reverse swing comes into it too much at Headingley.
Fair enough. Now, on a closing note, of course, I want to talk about that English lineup that has been announced for Headingley. Some key takeaways over here. Of course, Ollie Pope is out injured, so he won't be playing any further part in this Ashes. Harry Brook at number 3. That seems a bit odd to me, at least. Do you think that is something that could work for England?
I Yeah, to be honest, I would have put Harry Brook at 3 and then tried to get Ben Stokes into the team. But I can actually see the reasoning because I think Ben Stokes is now playing as an out and out batter. He said in his press
Mhm.
conference today that we've tried to pick a lineup thinking that I might.
Yeah, I think we've got some more technical issues, Azim Bhai. You'd have to rejoin. Yep. Sorry about that, guys. I think we've had like at least 4 to 5 of these technical difficulty breaks, and our apologies, of course. I think the internet that Azimba is using in Dubai is not the best right now. Yes, there you are.
Sorry.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I just think by luck, I feel like England's ended up with a.
Oh, you're gone again. Yep, you will have to rejoin, Azimba, if you can hear me, or I can send you a text. Okay, well, hopefully it doesn't happen again because we don't have a lot left anyway. But I guess I'll take this time to thank you, all of you guys who took out the time to join and shared your comments with us as well. Of course, there was limited time, so I can't take all of the questions. And if I'm being honest, not all of the questions could have been taken either because some of you aren't really mincing your words. But yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Oh, it's bad news once again, Azim bhai. We're stuck. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yes, Mustafa, I couldn't take any of your questions, man. They're all a bit too edgy and disrespectful. It's not my style, bro. Sorry. Okay, fingers crossed. Hopefully it works this time. Let's see. Oh, this is even worse than before. I can't even see the screen. Oh, there you are. And you're gone. This is not ideal. Maybe try joining from another phone or something, Azim bhai. Maybe that would work. I can send you the link to, or maybe I can WhatsApp you or something. Behram, if you could continue it on your own. Well, I mean, my thoughts don't really matter that much. I'm the host, but I personally would have had Josh Tang. Oh, there it is. I think the video is working now for Azim Bhai. But I believe that he has left the premise. Hmm, interesting. Ooh, okay, let me just message him. Anyway, you guys can take a look at the fountain at the back, I suppose, or my background. That's my room, guys. If you're interested, I know that you're not. And hopefully we can have Azeem Rafiq back on. Oh, there he is.
Have you got
Yeah.
me back?
Yes. Do you want to finish that thought?
Yeah, no, I think England's, by luck, I think they've ended up with a team that bit of pace. I think Mark Wood is huge. Again, I'm not sure about the spin bowling option, but I think Australia will have some memories of Headingley 19, and I think England can play on that. So as long as key passages of play, England just be a bit smarter. I feel like they've got a better lineup this week to get a win under the belt.
Yeah, just one final comment on that lineup. Of course, Jimmy Anderson has been rested, and you'd understand that. Of course, he hasn't been in the best of form, is on, well, not even on the wrong side of 30. He's 40. He's 40 plus, so there's that. And you'd probably want him to play at Old Trafford, which, of course, is his home ground. So I understand resting Jimmy. And one thing I didn't quite understand, of course, you're bringing in Mark Wood as an enforcer. He's got that express pace. I think that will definitely help. But Josh Tongue had a very, very good game at Lord's. So do you think that him not being a part of the playing 11 at Headingley is perhaps the right call?
Yeah, I'm guessing. Look, Josh has had a lot of injury problems over the, he's had tough times with injury, and I'm guessing a back-to-back Test match so close together is not something they want to risk with him. And I don't have any problem with that. I think got to look after him, and he looked so promising. That little bit of a slant in angle really adds the dimension, but pace-wise, he looks really there, and he's someone for the future. I think it's important that England manage him well.
Okay, so on one final note, I'm just going to ask you, we've seen lots of drama unfold just after 2 Test matches. Do you see things getting more spicy here on? Of course, the stakes are higher for England. They have to win all 3, and they haven't lost an Ashes series since 2001 at home. There's got to be a lot of pressure over there, especially because even when they had come up with Bazball and started playing that way, the ultimate question was, we'll see when they play the Aussies at home. The Ashes will really depict whether or not this is a successful strategy. So just some final thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, make no bones about it. Ashes cricket is where people get judged on, and I think on the outer they might seem like there's no care in the world. English media will be making it very, if Headingley doesn't start well, England are going to come under a lot of pressure, and some of the players will come under a lot of pressure, and even the management, because I think a lot of the controversy in the chat has deflected away from how sloppy England have been. 74 extras, at Lords, the declaration at Edgbaston. These things will come back if England don't do well. I hope it's going to be spicy at Headingley. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I just hope that no lines are crossed this week on and off the field. I hope that Yorkshire cricket, this is an important moment for them, and I hope they get through it and people behave in a properly manner.
Okay, I think you'll have to rejoin one last time, Azeem Bhai. I'm sorry about that. I think we've lost you once again. But you can just, I suppose, you can complete that thought and we can call it a day. Of course, it is quite late over here in Pakistan. I have a flight to catch tomorrow. I'm heading to Karachi. I have a wedding over there. So got to sleep, and I have to make some clips for this stream as well. Yeah, some final thoughts then. Oh, it's stuck again. No! That is not ideal. Yeah. I don't think our viewers will be able to hear you. So I guess we can just give it one final go. Let's hope that it works this time. And then, yeah, we can wrap things up. All head to bed. Of course, it is a weeknight. And I don't want to keep you guys who are especially tuning in from Pakistan up much longer. But yeah, once again, just want to thank everyone for joining in, asking your questions. And yes, there is Azeem Bhai. Yeah, there we go. Oh no! Well, I think fate just does not want us to finish this episode. Um, maybe Azeem Bhai try from a different phone or something. Maybe go to a different spot with the better internet connection. Oh, there you are. It's working. It's working. Shoot.
Yeah, I just hope that everyone has a great week. England win, but everyone behaves, because this is an important week for Yorkshire cricket, and I think anyone going there, have a good time. but don't spoil anyone else's fun. So yeah, I think it's a big week, and I just hope the cricket is the talking points at the end of the week.
We all do, really. And just one last thing, sorry, just came to my mind. I had to discuss this with you because we've discussed this, on Twitter as well. The most batters, left-handed batters in the world, they don't enjoy that around the wicket angle from a right-arm pacer. But three Australians are one of those, or a few of those players who actually do. Khwaja, Head, and Carey. And Australia or England have consistently bowled over the or around the wicket. They're right-handers, of course, right-arm pacers. Whereas you had evidence of Khwaja struggling against Siraj, who went over the wicket. So, just some concluding thoughts on that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you saw my tweet. I couldn't
Mhm.
understand it because with Usman's technique as well. It's clearly he does struggle when it goes across him. I think again going around the wicket has been England's way because they've not been swinging the ball. I don't think
Mhm.
they've been threatening because they've been so samey,
Mhm.
lack of pace and not swinging the ball that they felt like their only option has been round the wicket, and that happens with the lack of variety in your bowling attack.
100%. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time, Azeem Bhai. It was an absolute privilege to be able to talk cricket with you, about the Ashes. I'm sure we'll have you again on some time, talk about some more serious
I'll
issues.
make
But
sure the internet connection's better.
yeah, absolutely. And once again, like, thank you for, of course, being so generous with your time. And thank you to all our viewers for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to record this for you. You'll catch me soon enough. We'll be coming out with more content. But for now, that'll be all. Thanks so much once again. That's all for now. Goodbye.